So I want to just read a few things of what is coming into the state of California and also is being pushed in many of the other states as we're indoors right now. So the Comprehensive Sexuality Education K through 12 curricula addressing sexual relations and related activities is designed to change traditional sexual and gender norms of society. Controversial behaviors are taught to minors, including kindergarten, and that's the agenda to start, including details of anal and oral sex, mutual masturbation, and gender options. Minors are told they have a right to have sex early, and often that engaging in sexual behavior should feel pleasurable. Children are encouraged not to believe and follow the moral beliefs of their parents, and it is instituted in their books. We read this where it says that even if you have a certain belief or religious or moral belief, that you should set this to one side and that you can even talk to your teacher about this. So these beliefs of their parents should not be taken into consideration, but to stand up for their rights to be and to do what they want. Beginning in middle school, there's also a 9th grade curriculum that is coming in this year. It's horrendous. And students are taught details of sexual acts, including anal, oral, and vaginal presented as equally good and perfectly normal. Students are encouraged to explore and decide for themselves who they are attracted to and what they are. So this is the homosexual, bisexual, homosexual, lesbian, transgender, and all of those. So, and explaining that all of these behaviors and all of these different sexual ways to believe that there is no problem, that they are safe. They are safe, and this is the real way of having sexual intercourse. So what are those common grounds that we're seeing in all three countries right now and also in Latin America is in the education, we see that it is the transgender agenda that has come in very strong. We see abortion that is being taken place in the schools without the consent of parents. And we also see the losing of liberty as to parents' decision as to what curriculums and also what they want their kids to be able to learn. We are also seeing a common ground as to the state considering children as their property and not our kids anymore. So we see the socialist way of thinking in all three countries, in Canada, in the United States, and also in Mexico. Right now, as many parents have started talking to their teachers, the communication that is being received from the teachers, they are communicating as to the parents, your students, instead of referring to your children. And when they are saying about the students, they're talking and they're saying, our children will be coming back to school. And when you have also, we have also read some information in Oregon, also in Washington, where the idea is of it is a socialist way of thinking that is a progressive way of thinking that is wanting to be implemented into the educational system. Whenever you see them talking about humanist way of thinking in the education, when they talk also about the environment, that is totally opposite from God's way of thinking, and I can be able to explain this. If anybody has any questions, we can go into details to that. The third one is also this progressive way of thinking, that the children are being geared and they're being groomed into the overall of the government's way of thinking. It's the property for their benefit. And these three things are what has come into our system in Mexico, United States, and Canada. And this was also part of that globalization of education that has been pushed by the UN. And if you guys recall to some of the information that I had already talked about, you guys can look for Robert Mueller's educational system and his programs, the Institute of Robert Mueller and his institute in Texas that was a pilot program that took place in 1991. So it is really important to understand that here in Mexico, with this new reform that has come into place, just in 1 month, they didn't have any error as to what they were doing. They knew what to do. They implemented. Parents to this day are not aware what has come in. And the teachers also, when they were trained, they didn't have an option or an opt to be able to opt out of changing the curricula. The same thing happened 17 years ago in the United States. So one of the things that we also see here in Mexico is that our Constitution and our legal rights under the Constitution, the third article, and this is something that I have explained before, it states that every child deserves an education. So what do they do here in Mexico? They turned it and twisted it around. And they said, okay, the child deserves an education. Because he deserves the education, anybody that infringes to this right that he has and is backed from the UN will have consequences. So the child has and deserves the right to this new way of thinking, this new education that is being implemented. And here is the beginning of our losing our rights as parents in the education system. So we need to please understand what is happening at a global aspect, or what's the word? At a global realm. Just to be able to finish up with what I need to say, this is huge because it is not just a plan that is done in the United States, even though we know who are the ones that are pushing for all of these changes in the United States. It is Planned Parenthood that is in the United States, that is also in Canada, and is also in Mexico. And they are the ones that are pushing for this agenda to be able to come into place in the educational realm. But we need to also understand that there is a global agenda. And while everybody was at home, and the idea was that everybody should work online, and that was part of the plan, and this was able to be stopped, at least in the United States, for the time being. So keep on praying right now for the leaders. Lord, God calls us to be able to pray for our leaders, and this is important. We need to pray for the hearts to be turned to God's hearts. We need to continue to pray for the protection of our children. We are working right now with organizations. We're going to be contacting some cool organizations to be able to come in and support the education. So we're going to be working with people that are in child trafficking. We're going to be working also with some groups that are bikers, international bikers. And there's some really interesting people. There's people also that are going to be helping us from the police. They're cops, they're parents that will be able to give us some advice. And hopefully our plan is that this will be able to go and just explode, okay? Worldwide, where we can be able to make a difference for our next generations. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. This is a new remnant that the Lord is wanting to lift up. This is a remnant that the Lord wants to save. And we have this responsibility. Again, I'm going to say it. I believe that the Lord has put us in a place for the time that we are living. we have been in homeschooling, and if there's anything that you have learned, you need at this moment to be able to share this. You need to mentor others. They need to know the truth. They need to know what is out there. There are so many people that think that they're doing the right thing. They love their children, but they are blinded. They are blinded as believers to the truth of what is happening in the school districts. Please help us. I am so excited that you guys will be part of this. Mexico is going to be pushing hard. It's going to be from the border at the south all the way to the border at the north. And let's just make this strong, okay? And I really appreciate you guys for your prayers. If you want more information, send me a note and I'll be glad to send you by email everything so that you can be able to be involved and you can be able to see it. God bless you. We love you. Bye.